Hi, I'm Diana Kanecki. I've spoken before City Council of Kenosha a few times, and I like to post a public blog as to some talking points to consider in regard to the city of Kenosha and how to improve it for all of its citizens. But first, let me give a background. Um, Currently, the city of Kenosha has has issues with a two-class society. Part of it is due to public transportation. As many people who have taken the bus sort of commonly joke, they have to make sure they complete their items of shopping and other things before 7 o'clock before they turn into pumpkins. Meaning that's the time that basically they're not seen by other people in the city or even tourists in the city. Um, you wonder about that. Although many cities thrive on tourism, um, to exile a certain part of population that they can't come out after 7 o'clock due to a lack of public transportation in a city approaching 100,000. Actually, Kenosha's 99,000 is abhorrent because many other cities outside of this area have full transportation so that everyone can enjoy whether they can drive or whether they don't, or if they don't have a car, they still can go out to movies, go out and meet friends afterwards without having to walk 3 miles or pay for a taxi. Um, the second point is um, in regard to the five freedoms. There's been a lot of discussion as to religious rights, and with any right comes responsibility. Um, Last week I was at Peanut Butter and Jam, and it was wonderful hearing CC Santana play. And afterwards I went to stop to have a snack. At the one place I stopped at, I noticed that they were playing the second half of the Republican debate. One person may wonder why, um, if someone is transgendered, why are they Republican? Well, part of the reason is because uh, I find that there's less hypocrisy. There are many friends of mine who are Democrat, and I value the friendship and like the friendship because they are not hypocritical. But to the Democrats who are hypocritical, as to some groups that like to do bullying by religious means, by financial means, by harassment of people who are transgendered, lesbian, gay, or bi, or even others who are different because of their ghetto beliefs or something. No, I won't vote for your candidate. Because what happens, we're all in this together and we either sink or swim. If you're going to harass me or harass other people because you feel that's the way you can get things done, or you're feeling you're being tough or macho, no, that you won't, your candidate won't get my vote, which is why I didn't vote in, in 2008, 2012 for the presidential candidate that did win, because I cast a counter vote because I want people to think, because up to 2012, one presidential candidate said that they would not support certain aspects of LGBT. I'm glad he changed his mind, and I'm glad he's adopted a modern view rather than like some countries in Africa who have adopted a very barbaric view towards people who are transgendered, like in the same way as some terrorist groups have done. But the point is, we need to work on a way to resolve our differences, and also we need to listen carefully. For example, in the Republican debate, there was a question that was asked of John Kasich in regard to what it means to be a parent. And the question was this: if you, as a presidential candidate, had a son or daughter who was lesbian, gay, bi, or transgendered, would you still love them? Now, when I heard this, there were a few other people watching the Republican debate with me, and we all listened with what the answer would be. And it reminded me of two other times a question like this was asked that actually was only one right answer. One was when my father took me to see the original Star Wars, um, when he was our counselor at music camp when we all went. He originally took me, I went to Star Wars to see the science fiction, but my father wanted me to go to Star Wars to see something of the spirituality. And the spirituality was in the last scene when Luke Skywalker was firing the rockets to destroy the Death Star, and he turned off his targeting computer. And I looked at my dad thinking, well, why would someone not use technology to help with their mission? And my dad looked at me and said, with the expression, just wait. And what happened was, the thing was to trust his spirituality and to trust himself rather than technology, not to become a robot, to actually be human, which means being human means you trust your spirituality, and also you don't do an exclusive policy of just relying on one source to get something done, which means you don't exclude people. Although some people may try to exclude you. The second episode came in 1988 when Star Trek The Next Generation was on, and it was Encounter at Farpoint, and a question put by Q to the captain was, is humanity still a childlike and savage race? And he prefaced it with saying, there's only one answer. There's a break to a commercial, and from the commercial, my dad asked me, what do you think the answer is going to be? Just as the episode was starting, my dad had asked me to start the video recorder to record the episode because he knew this was going to be a very important episode. He had a sense. So what happened was I recorded the episode. And when it broke from the commercial, he asked me to record the commercial breaks, not to stop and start it. So when it broke from the commercial, Picard gave the answer. And the answer was yes, conditionally. But based upon the time that was being depicted, humanity had evolved and had improved from that time. And also humanity had acknowledged the barbarity of its past as well as its past, because it's important for a culture to acknowledge their past, not to hide their past. And this relates to the Republican debate, though, because what happens in the Republican debate, John Kasich was asked the question, well, as a presidential candidate, would you support a child who is lesbian, gay, bi, or transgendered? And as a parent, and his answer was yes. But this time it was conditional. It wasn't as unconditionally. And what happens when I heard it and others heard it, we all breathed a sigh of relief. Because if someone is a parent, they will love their children unconditionally. If the love of their child is based upon some sort of condition where either a church group or social group says, well, you can't love your child because they're transgendered or because they're lesbian, gay, or bi, why did they become a parent? That's more like being a social club or something. When one becomes a parent, they take responsibility to love their children unconditionally. And I have spoken at City Council of Kenosha many times, and I had the good pleasure of speaking with a friend of my dad's who is a former mayor of Kenosha, John Bellotti, at the last City Council meeting. I asked John what he thought, and before you couldn't even finish, John said, your father would be proud and very proud of what you're doing as to how you're continuing his vision and how you're trying to help the people of Kenosha and speaking for others who can't speak. He would be very proud of you. And John knew me before I transitioned and knew me now. And what happened to John? There wasn't a difference. There wasn't a difference. The biggest difference was he said, now you're willing to go out in public and speak, from what I could tell. And he was glad that, because that's something my dad always wanted me to do, is to get over my shyness and to speak. many transgender people do transition because they are tired of hiding. They are tired of being painfully shy to meet people for fear of being outed or being harassed. Or when they do transition, they do face a lot of issues. And I have faced a lot of issues speaking publicly in front of city council. Some haters sort of have used my public speaking as to put a target on my back to verbally harass me, to harass friends of mine. And even if, to put a wedge between friends as to pulling them that we can be friends watching movies, but we can't be friends outside in public. So there still has a lot to be done in the Midwest, and especially even in areas like Kenosha and in Wisconsin. One thing is though, part of the solution is going to come in Kenosha is that basically when the bus service goes to 11 o'clock at night so that all people can enjoy the benefits of the city and don't turn into pumpkins at 7 o'clock. Because although many people who take the bus may not have a certain amount of income at this moment, either due to disability or because they're having trouble finding work, that doesn't mean that they should be denied from having the right of travel and the freedom of travel. What I find odd about that is, even though Kenosha is considered a Democrat city, many of the people who are pushing for better public transportation are basically Democrats who aren't hypocritical as well as Republicans. I am a Republican who believes in a social safety net, but also believes in that basically I'd rather have people getting out and doing things by their own rather than having to rely on social service or to have to pay $180 for a van to take them to and from the doctor's appointment when they prefer to get there on their own power, by their own means, by their own car or by a efficient public transportation when they can, to keep the dignity and also to keep the spirit. We need to end this two-tier system that we have in the city of Kenosha, and that's because it's going to eventually collapse upon itself. Kenosha was not built originally on a two-tier principle of excluding or exiling certain citizens after 7 o'clock that they couldn't go out, or even putting pressure on friends of a friend of someone who is lesbian, gay, or transgendered, that for them to enjoy the full benefits, they have to make sure that they cannot have contact with their friends who are LGBT while they're at certain parties. That type of hypocrisy I don't support, and that's part of the reason why I'm glad that the friends I do have are not hypocritical. But we need to do more because Kenosha was not built upon a two-class system. It was built upon, it was a frontier town that eventually became a city due to visionaries. And many visionaries did a lot of things which many people take for granted today. For example, workman's compensation, having an employer co-sign the mortgage so that people working at Nash could buy the home. And that, which is a very new thing considering about 1900. That's how my grandparents bought their home. Charles Nash signed the mortgage, as he did with many other people who worked at Nash and EMC, as well as benefits. And also the city of Kenosha was built with many public libraries believing in education. Now, this is not an example of a two-class city where one group is hidden and another group isn't. But if Kenosha were rebuilt today, a lot of the amenities that Kenosha has would not exist because too many people are afraid to speak up of ending the two-class system of exile and exclusion or hiding of certain people after 7 o'clock at night, as with the public transportation system, which is the first thing that needs to be changed to show that Kenosha is ending this. Yes, it's nice that tourists come to Kenosha, but we have to support all the people, as many in addition to the tourists. But and this is true for all cities. It's not the one who pays the most. It's everyone is important, no matter how much they pay or how much they can afford to pay. And if people feel that someone should is not a person because they can't afford to pay, that's not the American way. Um, well, let me know what you think. I can be reached at Twitter at Diana1A. And in a closing thought, when Sandy was alive, my fiance, we were planning on starting a foundation to help with transgendered people, to help them move to a better area where they can be fully supported and grow. And also, we were going to use Republican principles of full support from the private sector, no government money, no state government money, because we don't want to get involved in hypocrisy. We want to teach people who are transgendered how to start their own business, how to maintain their business, how to hire other people, how to help their community, but do it in a way where they're not politically bound or religiously bound to be under control, that they are their own person, the original American work ethic, and based on the principles of the five freedoms. Thank you for listening, and please feel free to reach me at Twitter at Diana18. Thank you.